everyone. Welcome to Kindred. We have such a treat of an interview for you today. And this one is especially near and dear to you, Jen, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So, full confessions here. I want you to be honest. Don't be shy. We won't be mad at you. What was one of your least favorite backyard animals until you met our guest today through a volunteer position you took up a few years ago?
So it wasn't even one of my least favorite. It was my least favorite
Oh,
animal. Yes.
okay. Fair.
That
Tell us
lives
the
in the
truth.
backyard. It was the possum, the Virginia possum.
Aha, the
Me and possums were
possum.
not friends. Yeah.
Well, I get why. So there's no shame here. No
No,
shame at this
I
podcast.
feel
Nope.
no
You're
shame.
allowed to have,
I've been enlightened and I've been educated. And usually when you learn something about something, you like it more than you thought you would. It's a good life
that's,
lesson.
this is a really good life lesson. And you're
Mhm.
100% right. And possums are such a great example of that. And you actually I didn't hate them. I actually liked them, but I didn't know a whole lot about them. And you made me actually really love them. So we're excited for this conversation today.
Yes,
Before we get to that episode, I just wanted to talk to you all a little bit about our YouTube channel. Did you know we had one?
I did. Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
So glad. I'm
So you just get on.
ecstatic.
So all of
Ecstatic.
our episodes we are uploading on YouTube. So if you just go search for the Kindred podcast, you can listen to them. There's not, I don't think, tons of audio, video on it. We'll
Let's
get
hope
there
not.
one step at a time. So check out our YouTube channel if that's where you want to listen to our podcast. The other thing I want to talk about is Buy a Coffee, that app that we have through our website at thekindredpodcast.co. So where I was also thinking too, if there's an episode you especially like, you could send us $5, the cost of a cup of coffee. Get it? That's why it's called Cup of Coffee.
Hmm.
So we would be so appreciative for any little amount that you're willing to send our way to support our little indie podcast. We pay for everything ourselves. And so um, I'm thinking if there's an episode you especially like, just remember a cup of coffee goes a long way for us. And that is so true. You can also subscribe via Apple Podcasts. However, I just really like the cup of coffee because it can be a one time, you can be from
Right.
$5 to $1
Exactly.
million, but
Right.
it's a one time donation, which
Right.
I actually really like.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing I just wanted to ask people to is to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Especially the rating, that 5 stars goes a long way. Apple Podcasts loves getting ratings on podcasts, and we do too. So, again, if there's an episode you especially like, just click those 5 stars. That might have been four. You can also leave four. However, we love the five. So, thank you everyone for supporting us. It really is hugely supportive for us. So thank you so much. All right. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. Jen, tell us who we are speaking with today and how you know this person.
Okay, I will tell you. So his name is Chris Strub, and when I came in contact with him, he was the assistant director of the wildlife clinic at the Schuylkill Center in Roxborough, Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. So it's a wildlife clinic in the middle of Philadelphia. There's
Mm.
I think 400 some acres, and they have
Oh,
the
wow.
Schuylkill Center's huge. Yeah, there's trails and it butts up right on the Wissahickon. It's very beautiful
Do they do like
property.
educational programs there?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and they have a nature preschool there,
Oh
and
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a cool place. And so when our youngest son went to college, I started volunteering there, just as the wildlife clinic had opened back up after being closed for a while, and they were like
Oh,
kept trying
right.
to. It was under new management, and the
Okay.
place was a mess. They cleaned it all up, made hired a new director.
Hmm.
It was named Rebecca Michelin, and then
Hmm.
she hired Chris. And so
Okay.
I was working there before it was even open, like cleaning out the cages that had just gotten left,
Okay.
that were just like lots of
I
poops, lots
see.
of this,
Right.
lots of just
Right. Just sort of
cleaning,
that,
a lot of cleaning, a lot of
uh-huh.
cleaning,
Okay.
and a lot of just getting things set up to reopen, and then we reopened, and then I met Chris pretty soon after that, and then started getting
amazing.
animals in. But when I
Okay.
started there, they didn't even have any animals. So
Do you know, it's funny you say that because that actually explains something years and years and years ago. This was a while ago. Like I went to drop off a injured bird and they were like, sorry, we don't have a clinic at this point, but
Yeah.
it had still said that on their
Yeah,
website.
yeah,
So I didn't realize they had and then closed and then opened
yeah.
again. Oh,
hmm
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
yeah,
then, yeah, that's how you
that's how we
get him
met.
to love
Yeah,
possums because he knows all
yeah,
about them. And it's
exactly. We
his,
had a lot of possums, squirrels, possums, tons of songbirds, a few cottontails, some birds
oh,
of prey, which is what I was really
oh, yeah.
obsessed with, which is why I started looking for a place to
Right.
volunteer at.
Amazing.
But in Philly, there's not too many of those, luckily,
Right.
that are
Right.
getting injured, at
Right.
least.
Hmm.
So yeah, a
That's
lot of
amazing.
orphaned possums. Yeah.
So just a teeny little rundown of Chris, his bio. He's out of wildlife rescue now. However, Chris worked in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation for over 10 years, starting out as a volunteer at the Wild Bird Fund in New York City. Then, like you said, he moved to the Schuylkill Center in Philadelphia as the assistant director or director of
He
their
started as
wildlife.
the assistant director, and then he became the director
Oh,
later.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Schuylkill Center in Philadelphia, obviously check that out. It's an amazing organization, and their outreach is really exceptional. They do an amazing job. I've been there. It's beautiful. We went to a couple events there one time,
Yeah.
fundraising events. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Um, and then when he left Philly, he then finally went to Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center on Long Island, and so he's very knowledgeable. And we wanted to talk to Chris for a number of reasons. The first being your connection to him, Jen, and how he educated you about possums and many other animals. And one of our goals here at Kindred is to educate ourselves on the true nature of animals, especially those that are deeply misunderstood, like possums, and just change our misconceptions of a lot of animals like hyenas and sharks and wolves and all kinds. So the list goes on. The other reason is because Chris knows everything he does because of his hands-on experience and
Right.
years of handling wild animals and also researching them. He said he used to like just go into deep dives on all kinds of animals. So he was like educating himself, um, all with the goal to best care for wildlife and offer them an environment that mirrors their outdoor life as much as possible
Right.
because the goal is to release them back into the wild.
Exactly.
um so I think it's really important to hear from people who are caring for wildlife through volunteering and gaining real experience through learning on the job and not from academia type thing.
Right.
I think that's important.
Yeah. Well,
And,
and kind of like hopeful for people who want to do stuff with animals. If you don't want to get a vet degree,
right.
that there's ways to do this.
That's
Yeah.
right. It shows us that we can all do this if we want
Yeah.
to.
hmm
And um, I think you would have to volunteer probably for a long time and learn a
Yeah.
lot before you got a paying job that way.
Right.
That's true. Um,
And you have to take
however,
some courses and get some
right.
certifications, but
Yeah.
it can be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last reason why I wanted to talk to him because he super duper loves possums.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
and what you think about possums and why they behave the way they do, just get ready to be super surprised
Yeah.
because a lot of what we talked about, and I thought I knew a couple things about possums, and it turns out, boy, did I not.
Yeah.
So also I just want to mention this is what we call a shorty episode where we just kind of threw this one in there last minute. We like to kind of do that. It's just a fun way to approach an episode. So we have no takeaway because we kind of hashed everything out in the
Right.
conversation.
Exactly.
All right, let's go meet the possum formally and with all the correct knowledge. After this conversation, you'll know why I call them sweet angel babies of our backyards. I mean, oh man, and again, please email me and contact us through the website if you still think you hate them, because we'll talk one-on-one, because let me tell you. So thanks so much for being here, everyone, and lots of love. Enjoy. Chris, welcome to Kindred, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, happy to be here.
would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do? And for purposes of this conversation, tell us what you used to do.
Those are very different things, actually. So I'm Chris Strub. I'm currently a program associate at the Cornell Center for Regional Economic Advancement. We run a lot of entrepreneurial programs for the community, for both the Cornell community and upstate New York. I used to be a wildlife rehabilitator
Woohoo!
for I think over 10 years. I ran a couple of wildlife clinics. I started at the Wild Bird Fund in New York City and just grew from there.
Mm.
I was the director of the wildlife clinic at the Schuylkill Center in Philadelphia,
Mm.
and then also at the Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center on Long Island. So a little bit of a a little bit of a divergence from that now, but that
Right.
yeah.
And then, Jen, how do you know Chris?
So I met Chris at the wildlife rehabilitation clinic at the Schuylkill Center. I started as a volunteer there before Chris was even there, and when it had just gotten reopened. And then Chris came in during the time that I was there, and he came in as the what was your official title at the beginning? Not director, but assistant director,
I
I
was I
guess.
was the assistant director, yeah,
Yeah.
and you were there in the before times when there was like
Yep, it was the
just
before times. COVID,
rush
it was
and
kind of crazy. It was kind of
detritus.
crazy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a crazy time. So, yeah, so that's how I know Chris. So we met
All
through,
right.
yeah, my volunteer work at the Schuylkill
Well, and
Center.
this is why Chris is here today, just because
Yes.
Jen you raved about Chris and how much he knew and how much he changed your perspective on things and all of that. So that's great. It's so fun to have you. So, Chris, we wanted to talk to you for a few reasons. One of which is that my sister says you know a lot about possums and taught her everything she knows about them, and you are the reason she doesn't think they are creepy and gross anymore. So, thanks so much for that. That's like animal hero
Fantastic.
status. Yes, that is very helpful. One hater at a time. We just got to take one at a time. And now she's a
Yep.
lover, not a hater. So this is great.
That's right.
The other reason is because you don't have a degree in wildlife biology or any other degree to do with wildlife, but you do know a lot about wildlife rescue because you worked with, as you said, many wildlife, organizations and species for a very long time. And we just love talking to people that have extensive knowledge and experience strictly because of hands-on experience. So this is, let's rejoin the people here. So yes, that's something that's really fun for us to talk to someone who kind of can inspire us as well, that maybe we can do this too if we really want to. And I can relate to that. I worked for the SPCA for some years, and I had no knowledge going in and a lot when I came out. So yeah, and thank you for your service, sir.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
I have an English degree, so that
Uh-huh.
has nothing to do with anything. But yeah, I mean, with animal work and especially with wildlife, it really is learning through doing,
Right,
and really anybody can do it,
right.
you know. So
Right. And I
Yeah.
think, I think anyone can if they want to. And I think it's just, it really is this stuff the, working with wild animals is not a in theory thing. This is a hands-on thing. So
And
yeah.
mhm.
it's a passion. That's why people do it. They don't do
Yeah.
it for the money.
Right.
They do it
Right.
because they
Yeah.
love animals, right, Chris?
Right.
Or
Right.
if they love sleep, they don't do it for very long. But
Lols.
yeah.
So Chris,
Yeah.
walk us through how you came to be involved in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation.
Yeah. So I wanted to be a veterinarian. That did not happen for assorted reasons, but that was the genesis of it was, I was looking at vet school and, the application requirements, one of which is experience in the veterinary field. And they look for variety. And what shows more variety than working with wildlife?
Right.
And I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and there is only one wildlife rehabilitation center in New York City, which is the
Hmm.
Wild Bird Fund. They
Hmm.
are thankfully always looking for volunteers, as are most wildlife centers.
Oh, good to
So I
know.
just started as a volunteer.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what
And
what year are we talking about?
oh my gosh, what was this? This was probably 2012,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good long time.
2011, 2012, something like that. Um, yeah, and just started, cleaning cages,
Yeah.
Right.
sweeping floors,
Hmm.
filing papers, like all the things you do as a volunteer starting out. But
Were
I was
you,
hooked like
I was just gonna
immediately.
ask, were you hooked like immediately?
Yeah, right away. I mean, it's really I had worked in veterinary, like domestic animal veterinary clinics, small animal and large animal, and that's exciting for sure. And
Yeah,
I learned a lot, but it's different. I mean, wildlife rehabilitation is different in that it's not someone's pet. It's not an animal
right.
that's, in a domestic environment. It's an animal that ideally goes back out into the wild. And
Mm,
so it's a totally different mindset from any domestic animal,
right.
work that I'd done previously. So
That
yeah,
makes
I was
sense.
hooked
That
right
makes sense.
away.
What was your first animal that was like truly hands-on for you? What was the first little baby you had?
Pigeons,
Oh,
which should not be surprising with New York City. Like
Yeah.
pigeons
fair,
are,
fair.
I know we're here to talk about possums. I love possums. Pigeons are also great.
I think they're
Which
great
also
too.
shows that you found the right place because you know what? A lot of people do not like pigeons. And so that was
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing. It's like, oh, I love this. And some
Mhm.
people
yeah.
are probably like, what? Pigeons? Yeah.
I know. We got to do an episode on pigeons. I mean,
Yeah,
come
they
on,
got a bad
everyone.
rap
They're
too.
another
Yeah.
another cleanup crew. Well, that's amazing. I love that. So yes, Chris, you are correct. We have asked you here because we want to hear all about one of your favorite animals and ours, the possum. We just had an argument whether it's opossum or possum. I'm sticking with possum. Um, y'all can do what you want out there in the world, but I'm just going to take I just all those letters. Let's just
You
slow
know,
it down a little. So, yes, we want to get educated on what they're all about and how we can dispel all the false narratives. Today, we are leaving all our preconceived notions at the door and tell us all about the possum. Give us all the best dirt.
all the best dirt about possums.
Yes.
There's a lot. I mean, possums are they're such honestly a strange, magical kind of critter. They're unlike anything else we have in North America. I mean, for one, they're our only marsupial in North America.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Pause on that because Jen, when we did our pre-interview with Chris and you could have rolled that out there all casual, I was like, what? Like, I had no idea they
Mhm.
were a marsupial, which just changes everything immediately about them. So tell us what defines a marsupial and makes them different from the rest of us.
so without going into like crazy taxonomic and whatever evolutionary detail, the main thing is marsupials rather than carrying their babies, fully with the placenta internally, they give birth to their young at a really early developmental stage. They're almost like fetal when they're
Right,
born.
right.
And then they spend a really good amount of time inside an external pouch on the mother's body, nursing
Like
and
a
growing,
kangaroo,
like
Mhm.
a
right?
kangaroo. Yep,
Right.
Which is wild
exactly.
because I don't know. I guess they're not. Are marsupials kind of all related back if you go back?
That's slightly above my pay grade. I think
Okay,
so.
same.
Yeah. I mean, they're
They
like a
must be in some
primitive
way. Yeah.
form,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, of mammals.
Well, we were also
So there's
related to
also
the
like,
octopus, so there you go. But yeah, I just
yeah.
think that was wild to me. I don't know how I didn't know that, except that there's lots of things I don't know, but that just changed immediately to me. I'm like, okay, let's start on that playing field. So they're a marsupial. Okay, carry on, sir.
And well, being marsupials also like makes them unique in a whole bunch of other ways, including, like, for instance, they have a lower body temperature than most other mammals, because marsupials just do tend to have a lower internal body temperature,
Right.
um, which makes them more resistant to rabies, for example. Not immune,
Ah,
which is
oh.
some folks think that they're immune to rabies. They're not, but they have a much lower incidence of
Oh.
contracting it and passing it, which is kind of
Ah.
crazy.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
So because their body temperature is lower, they're not an ideal host for rabies.
exactly. Yeah, the rabies virus
Interesting.
just has a hard time,
Okay. Oh, wow.
making
Taking
its
hold
way
in
Sure,
their
sure,
in
body. Yeah,
sure.
possums.
right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, so talk to me about, let's take a possum in like the rehabilitation setting. Like what's that like to take care of a possum in that world?
So their nutrition is really complicated for one thing,
Oh, interesting.
because they're omnivores. They in the wild they have a crazy varied diet, everything from, fruit and leaves to dead animals,
Right.
carrion, insects, things like that. So that's challenging, is making sure that they get, especially if they're going to be in care for a long time.
Right.
If they're only going to be there for a week, obviously everyone needs appropriate nutrition and care, but you're a little bit less worried that you're going to have problems with some kind of deficiency if they're not there for a long time.
Right.
Well,
But,
also,
you have,
I do think that's one thing that I thought was unique about the wildlife rehabilitation clinic at the Schuylkill Center is that was started by Rebecca Michelin, who was the director before you, and she was very, very dedicated to a wide variety of food, even if they only eat four different things. She
Mm.
wouldn't just give them pellets or whatever. She
mm,
she started that where she was dedicated to giving each animal like real food and
Oh, yeah.
as much variety as you can get in their diet. So she already did that with animals that didn't do a
Mm.
a wide variety. So extra hard when you
Mm.
set that, don't you think, Chris? Would you agree that's
yeah,
true? So like there was a lot of food prep, a lot of money
Right.
spent on nutritious food, like real food,
Mm.
not just like the things that you can get pre-made that will sustain their life. But
Right.
so
yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was actually very cool that that was a precedent there.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole other level of challenge, right?
Yeah, it just makes it harder and more
Mm.
expensive,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
better for the
exactly.
animals.
But better for them. And
Yeah.
that's something that not to go on a food tangent, but that's something I brought over to the Long Island Wildlife Clinic
Mm.
was, okay, we've got diets that technically they're nutritionally correct, but we need to expand this and really
Hmm.
offer them a variety and more natural foods. It just leads to better outcomes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Again, especially if they're there for a long time.
Yeah.
I love
You can
that.
have something that says that it's nutritionally complete on the package, but it's not really
Mm.
It's not that what they would eat in the wild.
right.
And that's what we're
Right.
trying to do ultimately with wildlife, which is different than other animals, is we're trying to return them home. Like if you're
Mm.
Yeah.
working with somebody's dog, you know what Buffy eats, so you could just give Buffy that food. But when you have a
Right.
wild animal, that the goal is to return it to the wild. You want to keep its diet as intact as you can.
Right. And
So
as authentic as
Yeah.
you can. That's so
anyway, I
interesting.
just thought that was something that I was thinking when you were talking. So
Yeah. No, and that's a whole other that's incredible. I love hearing that actually. And so uh what if babies come in? What if people find babies? How do you deal with the little embryo things moving around?
It is.
The pre
that are
possum.
supposed to be in a pouch, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
It's complicated. So kind of, talking to Jen's point about we want to, mimic their natural diet. We also want to try and mimic their environment, which in the case of baby possums means mimicking a pouch,
Ah,
especially when they're under a certain age. Baby possums are in the pouch for about 12 weeks. So
that's
up
a long
until a
time
certain
actually.
It
point,
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
it's a long time, especially when you consider like a squirrel is independent from its mom at 12 to 14 weeks old,
Hmm.
Wow.
whereas a possum is still hanging out,
Yeah.
inside of its mom's pouch.
Right.
Right.
And you can imagine it's a humid environment. And
It's warm, very warm and
it's warm,
cozy.
it's
Yeah.
very
Hmm.
warm,
Yeah.
even with that
That's a
lower body
visual.
temperature.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we won't go too far into
Especially a
it, but
stinky possum. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so you have to keep them they like to be in an enclosed, so we had little pouches, like little sewn or knit pouches.
Oh.
But they also have to be in a really high humidity, high temperature environment. So
Mm.
not just an incubator, but an
Mhm.
incubator that was extra humid,
Oh, right, of
to prevent
course.
them from dehydrating,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, right on. And
Um,
then do you have to tube feed them?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they don't. That's another weird thing about marsupials is because so when they get into mom's pouch, they latch on and don't let go. Like they are
Mm,
attached to mom's nipple for
mm,
the duration that they're in the pouch.
Yeah.
right.
And so they don't have a suckle reflex because they're
Oh,
basically
right.
just getting
Oh, right.
drip-fed milk continuously. You
Amazing.
know, so we can't nurse them with a bottle the way you would do like a squirrel or a raccoon or whatever.
Right.
Um, so yeah, you take a little skinny tube and pop it right down into their stomach and
Oh,
just dispense the milk, which is quicker
right.
than bottle feeding a squirrel, but
Right.
also slightly more harrowing than bottle
Yes.
feeding a
And
squirrel.
like at the Schuylkill Center, I couldn't stick a tube down a little possum's throat
Right.
because I'm not equipped to do that. So like with volunteers, a lot of what we did was feeding, and we fed a whole lot of baby squirrels.
Right.
But that it has to be somebody with more experience than just a regular volunteer to do the
Yeah.
possum. So and when you have a lot of them, you spend a lot of time feeding baby possums,
Yeah, I
didn't you,
bet.
Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, little
Well,
one.
especially because they come in litters of up to 13
Yeah,
babies,
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
and sometimes you
Lordy.
get the entire litter.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah, it
And they
adds up.
eat. And how often did you have to feed them? I forget. Pretty often though.
Pretty often when they're really little, you can do like 6 to 8 times a day.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
That's a lot of
but
feeding.
usually the ones that we were getting was 3 to 4 times a day
Yeah.
when
Okay.
they're a little bit older.
Yeah. And you had mentioned something that was a horror I've never, and I just saw a dead possum the other day on the road, and I did slow down and check, and it was not checkable. So what I'm talking about is, Chris,
Mhm.
you said that we should actually check dead possums to see if there are babies in the pouch because you can save them. And this is where I
Yeah.
was like, now I'm laying awake. How do I save baby I just never even thought about
Yeah,
that.
that was bad news for you.
That was
Yeah.
bad news for
Yeah.
me. Another one that I have to stress
I
about.
know
But
because now you know.
now
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
because
Yeah, I mean,
they can still be in there.
Mhm.
yeah, I wish I had the numbers from my last year at Schuylkill just to see because my guess is that it was dozens of babies that otherwise would have
Yeah.
perished
Right.
that someone brought in,
Mm-hmm.
brought in the whole mom has unfortunately passed away.
Right.
But there could still be babies in there and if we can get them and we can get them in time,
Right.
we can save them and then release them. So
Right. And
yeah, it's sort of
we'll get to how important these animals are in a minute, but that was really like, okay, now I have to go get gloves and and a little thing and all the things. But I'm gonna be real brave and maybe get some tongs and some things and sort of move it around because it's a bit of a horror. But yeah, we really need to get these babies help.
But you could, like he said, just put the mom in
Oh, that's true. I
yep,
just
just
jar.
the whole
bring
Let
the
thing in a
whole
somebody
thing
box.
else
in
get
and
yeah,
they
you don't
can
have to
check.
yeah.
That's actually an
Better.
important
That's
note.
probably better. Yeah.
That is
If you
better.
ever find mom with babies attached, don't pull the babies off
Right.
Yeah.
because they're attached.
Okay.
Then
And
that would
so
be worse.
depending on
Yeah.
how old they
Ah,
are, you
hot
can
tip.
you can injure them. So
Okay.
yeah, that you just
Okay.
it sounds gross, but you just take the whole
That's okay.
mom
It
and
feels less
everybody,
traumatic to me
you
than
know.
trying to rip these babies out of the pouch, honestly.
Yeah,
Well, and I can
yeah.
just shove
No,
them,
let the
pick them up
professionals do
and
it.
put them in a thing
Yeah.
and bring them in.
Right.
No, that's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
Exactly.
way better than me trying to like, let's pull babies out of I don't even know where the
No.
pouch is. So you had mentioned temperature, body temperature. I thought that was really interesting. And there's a couple different species of possums. You had talked about before. Talk to us more about so are they more southern dwelling species? I mean, you don't find them up in the cooler areas because of their temperature?
So it's kind of an interesting like evolutionary adaptation story with them. They are, or they at least they started out as a more southern species, and there are actually tons of species of possums in South America. I don't know
Okay.
how many. I'm
Okay.
not an expert in South American possums, but there's a lot. I didn't know this for a long time either, and then I like
Mm.
Googled it, like, holy cow, there's a bunch more possums.
Hmm.
Oh,
Um, but the Virginia possum, which is our possum species,
Okay.
um, you know, whatever hundreds of years ago was really only in the southern states. But as the global temperature rises, and also just as they adapt and they look to find new, habitats to move into, they're moving north.
Okay.
So, in wildlife rehab in places like Philadelphia, and then, further north, you'll sometimes get them in with frostbite because
Oh,
they have these
yeah.
unprotected little hands and ears and tails that are
mhm.
not
Oh,
cold weather adapted.
Right.
right.
So sometimes they can get into trouble. And they don't hibernate, like a lot of more northern mammals will
Right.
hibernate um,
And they also don't migrate.
and they don't migrate now.
No.
So they're just
Interesting.
they're just trying to make it.
They're
Yeah.
But
just
I
trying to
would
make it.
suspect that, they're just going to keep moving north as long as, especially as temperatures rise,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and they're better able to deal with the climate.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought that was really, really interesting. So let's talk about why possums are so important to our ecosystems and what critical role do they play in our environments?
So other than being just fabulous little animals all on their own, they're kind of like nature's cleanup crew, sort of
Okay.
like vultures and a couple of other critters in the environment. They eat, like I said, they eat a ton of different things, but that includes
Right.
carrion.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they'll, eat up things that we don't necessarily want
Right.
sticking around in the environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
I was
yeah,
Googling it
which is pretty
earlier
cool.
and I think they're called nature sanitation engineers.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes,
Hmm.
I like that.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
love that. But I love
Yeah.
how you call them like the janitors of the world. Which janitors are
yeah.
critical operating. Yes. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, and even beyond, dead things like fruit, that's fallen and is kind of
Right.
rotting and
Rotting.
attracting
Yep.
insects, like
Right.
they'll clean that up, they'll
Hmm.
eat mosquito larvae, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
yeah.
just really don't think people understand that. And we were just putting out an episode about hyenas and like vultures, hyenas, possums, the cleanup crews. And they've been doing studies where they evaluate and do like what's the monetary contribution they make. If a person
Right.
did this job, how much would they cost?
Hmm.
And it's astounding. They're almost like economic engineers, these
Right.
these
Yeah.
these
They
species
they
that
earn their keep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, they
Hmm.
earn their keep. And I just think this
And
is
then some.
why we want to talk about something like the possum because people think they're gross and creepy and all the things, but you don't understand how you're living because they are cleaning up the disease that you can't handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And they don't bother anybody.
I know they
You know,
really
they
don't.
they're
They're just
so
going
they
about
keep
their
to
life. Yeah.
themselves.
They're
Yep.
pretty peaceful. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's dig into that because here's the thing. Everyone's like, "Well, they're weird because they hiss at you and they have pink eyes." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. What do you want an animal to do? Like to protect themselves?" But and I thought it was like a protective mechanism and you talk to us about how one it isn't and two when they play dead.
So yeah, possums, as far as defending themselves, possums don't have much going for them. They're slow. They don't, have big claws.
Right.
But the way that they try to keep other things from eating them is by making themselves look really unappealing to eat. So making themselves look and smell diseased.
Right.
So that, if a predator, and they consider us predators,
Right.
Yeah.
and in some ways we are,
Yeah.
some of us anyway,
Right.
they want to they want to make a predator think twice about, chowing down. So
Right.
that like open mouth hissing for one thing makes them look bigger. So that's kind of the first thing. It's like, don't mess with me. I'm big. I got big teeth.
Right. And they
Which
do have big mouths. I think it's cute, but
they
yeah.
do have big mouths. Yeah.
Hmm.
But they'll drool,
Mm.
and they'll release stink from their anal glands. Sometimes they'll, defecate, which is also gross, possum poop smells terrible.
Hmm.
So that can put predators off. And then
Ooh.
if that doesn't work, we call it playing dead, but it's actually they can't control it. It's like an automatic nervous
Oh, is
response.
it like a fainting goat kind of
Yeah,
deal?
it's like the fainting goat thing.
Yeah,
They have no control over it. They'll
right.
just get so
They get so scared that
stressed.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
oh
And then they just
no.
kind of pass out.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Okay, wait, let's just sit here for a second. So the hissing, the drooling, the peeing, the pooping, the passing out is just because they're super scared.
yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my gosh, that
Well,
is
and it makes sense that they are trying to look a little crazy because
right,
as a defense though. So what we are like, oh, they're so gross looking, they're so creepy.
right,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
right,
That's
they're
how
trying to
they
get you to
stay
back off.
alive. So they're
Yeah,
doing their job by
right.
doing that. That's the thing. It's not because
They just
yeah,
happen to be more scared than we are.
they are scared and they're
yeah,
trying not to die
exactly.
because they can't run very
They
fast at
really
all.
don't
No,
run. They waddle around. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone who knows them say they're like sweet angel babies. They are
they are.
really kind-hearted,
They're very
sweet,
peaceful animals. Yeah.
peaceful,
They're just
and
trying to
they're
live
just
very
their
like,
life.
peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
why are you coming at me, bro? Because you're scaring literally the poop out of me, and now I've got to pass out
Yep.
because I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we not understand this? Is some giant thing's coming at me? I might pee my pants too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the thing is like they're never gonna run at you. They're not
Right.
gonna
Right. They're
attack
never going to
you.
initiate anything.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Like your
just
point
let them
was
be.
most wild animals will not initiate any kind of interaction with a human. They're trying to
Yeah.
avoid us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even
And I
grizzly
feel like that's
bears are
doubly
trying
true
to
for
avoid us.
possums.
Yes, it's doubly true. Right. Exactly.
And you were also saying that they're not territorial and they just move. They are always on the move, which is
Yeah.
part of that whole thing. They're not territorial. So they're like, what's up? Peace. We're just coming through.
Right. They're not going to live under your shed like a groundhog will or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to hang around your
Yeah.
yard if that's where they're born. And the other part of that is that that's just another contribution of their janitorial services, right? Because they're
Right.
moving all
Mhm.
around.
Yep. Moving around, cleaning up as they go, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like if people listening, if you don't have a new perspective on possums, you please call me because we'll keep talking about this because it really is so important to get why these animals exist and what they contribute to our absolute health. And just to sort of see them in a new perspective that they're super cutie pies and they're actually passing out because they're scared, not because. So here's a story I just want to tell quickly. So we had a dog, Pip, and she killed a couple squirrels. She buried them and then pretended she didn't. She was a bit of a serial killer. But a possum came into the yard one day and my husband was out doing yard work and she went at this possum and there was no stopping her. She was going to get it and she was going to pick it up and shake it and kill it. Well, it did the fainting thing and she stopped dead in her tracks, sniffed this possum and was like, ew, gross, and
Mm-hmm.
backed away and let
Mm-hmm.
it be. And my husband was like, he goes over and checks it. He's like, it was kind of drooly and messy. And he's like, oh, it had a heart attack and died. It is absolutely dead. So
Mm-hmm.
he gets her inside. He does some other stuff and he's going to go back up to clean up this poor dead animal. Gone, vanished. I mean, it
Yeah.
is
Yeah, out of there.
that convincing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. They smell to prey like they're dead. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, just astonishing.
Yeah. It's great. That
So
was a win.
yeah, that was a win, thank goodness. But I really couldn't believe that she got faked out. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
she eats all kinds of nasty junk off the ground. Like what does she care? Um, I just
Not
thought that
that
was
nasty.
not
Yeah.
that
Right.
nasty.
Exactly.
She even held her boundaries. So, Chris, we ask everyone this question, but from your perspective, why is it so important to really understand an animal like the possum? Like, why is this conversation so important?
I mean, for one thing, it enriches our lives. I think it gives you a different perspective on the creatures that are living all around you, and animals like possums and pigeons and
Right?
raccoons and squirrels. They're everywhere. They live in our urban environments, and I think it's just a little bit magical to kind of realize there's this piece of the wilderness, hanging around your yard in Brooklyn or
Mhm.
wherever,
Yeah.
a really urban environment. And I think it helps dispel myths.
Mm,
I understand why people who aren't familiar with animals can be afraid of them. It's
sure.
a strange looking animal. It's baring its teeth at you. You don't know. So, having these conversations helps kind of dispel those myths. And hopefully, if you see a possum in the future and you didn't know that they weren't aggressive, now you know they're not
Right.
aggressive and you can
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
give it its space, let it be.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think it makes us better people to understand our wild neighbors,
Hmm.
and what else is going on outside of our human sphere.
Hmm.
Right.
Just think it makes us better people and, better neighbors to the wild animals. So,
Oh, I love that. I
Me too.
love that. That is so, it's so true. And I think, these animals are just trying to get through their days and they're already persecuted by all the things enough. And can we just help them out by leaving them alone and just letting them get to it? Just letting them get to their, just go clock in and clock out. And that's what I'm trying to do. And let's just get out of their way and leave them. But I think it really is so important to know things like Jen was saying, they're not like a groundhog that can dig under and your dogs are going to mess with it. And that can be a conflict that's stressful for everyone. But with the possums, they're just, they're just traveling through. And I just keep thinking of these amazing moms that have all these little babies clinging to them inside and out. Even when they come out of the pouch, they're still clinging all over this poor
Hmm.
woman. Like, God bless them.
Well,
I
and
mean,
anything that's going to, I think personally, amplify any empathy and compassion we have is a worthwhile endeavor, right? Because
yeah.
I think we need more of that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
not only for other people, but if we can start in a natural world, maybe it can spread to other humans who are different than us and don't look like we think they should look or whatever. I think that's
Absolutely.
part of the importance too.
Me too.
Um, Not that you asked me, but that just occurred to me.
Yeah. And I think, don't we all really, really hate it when we're misunderstood and
Yeah.
perceived in a way that is absolutely opposite to what and who we are?
Yeah.
That's terrible. And
Hmm.
I think that animals feel the same way.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, possums are kind of the ultimate don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'd just like to end, for real, with you telling us about old lady possums.
Oh, I love old lady possums.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't see many geriatric animals in wildlife rehab for reasons you can imagine. It's tough out there. Not a lot of them get to an old age, but possums, for some reason, at least in my experience, like we get a non-insignificant number of like elderly possums, like weepy eyes and their teeth all ground down
Yeah.
and losing their fur, and not because of illness, just they're just old.
Hmm.
Right.
I mean, possums only live like maximum 5 years even in captivity anyway, so
Okay.
they don't have the longest lifespans, but
Okay.
which is all to say, so we would get these elderly opossums and usually female possums in care, and they were just so sweet.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh,
you can't fix their old age.
Yeah.
But you can give them a nice, comfy place to be and good food and yeah, and they were just always very chill,
I
Hmm.
love
just not
that.
not really bothered by
Just give
anything.
them, yeah, just give them a lovely cup of tea and,
A cozy place
a
to
Yeah,
cozy
lie
blanket and a
down.
little
Yeah. Right.
recliner. And
a little scarf.
That's right. Maybe
yeah,
a purple hat or something like that.
Yeah,
right. And, just like the best of us who help old ladies across the road, help them across the road. Don't run them over. Let's just really, let's really get that in our heads. Possums with a cup of tea, a little warmer. What's that? A muffler? I don't know, where they're all like
yeah,
cozy. I'm so down with that. Well, Chris, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us today. This is one of my favorite conversations, and I feel like we've got just such a different perspective. I'm writing Pixar and Disney. This is your next movie, Old Lady
yeah.
Possums. The
Old lady
crew is out there
possums.
going
Yeah.
to solve like crime and the cutest
Oh, that would be
ever.
so good.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
I
right?
wonder why Beatrix Potter never did. Did they not have possums in England? Because they had hedgehogs and
They
you think,
don't have possums in England as far as I
okay.
remember.
Because
So
I
that
can
might be
picture
why.
an old
She
lady like a
definitely
Mrs.
would have been on the list.
Tiggywinkle.
Yeah.
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 Yes. Yes.
Anyway.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you see a possum in a really different light from now on. And they're more scared of you than the other way. Yes, sister.
I would say, so a lot of times we ask guests, what's a call to action that we can do? And because Chris isn't working in wildlife anymore, that's a little bit different. But if you are called to volunteer, donate, whatever you can, drop food off at a, wildlife rehabilitation center.
Mm,
If you love animals, if you have one in your area, they're always looking for vegetables. They're always looking for dog food. They're always looking for things like that they can do. Or just, if you want to wash some dishes and clean up some poop because you love animals, I think that would be a lovely thing too for people to
yeah.
be inspired to
Right.
volunteer.
Right. And just look in just Google
It's
wildlife
easy to find.
rehabs
I'm
in your
not good at
area.
Googling and I found it. So yeah,
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
you for sure have one in your area.
for sure.
They're
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
You just gotta, and yeah, they're always looking for help and help with all kinds of things.
Any
So
kind of help.
Mm.
I can't
yeah.
imagine. Did you ever turn anything down that people brought in? Old bed sheets,
No,
old blankets, like
Yeah. Right.
anything. Yeah,
no, not. I mean, even stuff we couldn't use, we would find places to pass it
that's
on to.
exactly
Like we
right.
Right. Right.
actually, with the Humane Society, we
Yeah,
kind of had a
That's
deal.
right.
Like we would
That's right.
send them stuff we couldn't
yeah,
use, and they,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Amazing. Well, Jen, thank you so much for that. That's such a great call to action and such a great reminder. I appreciate that. Again, Chris, thanks so much for joining us today.
yeah.
Really,
Thanks for having
Yeah,
really,
me.
so
yeah,
great.
such a pleasure. Take care. And you're at Cornell. It's a very animally place. So not to we need some good vets out there. Well, there's lots of good vets, but you're in the right place. So keep us posted if you ever get back to the rehabilitation. And yeah, take care. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Kindred is hosted by me and my sister Jen, produced by Kat Gaddy and myself, sound production and editing by Dan Cooper, original music by Ellie Grace, and our Kindred artwork was created by Lindsay Coffin. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and feel free to contact us through our website at kindredpodcast.co, where you can also find details about Kindred Plus, our subscription service, as well as links to our social media accounts and show notes.